Okay, welcome to planning your fall 2021 courses, blended learning activities and assessments. I'm one of your co-hosts here, Adam Finkelstein. I'm Associate Director for Learning Environments here at TLS, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Carolyn. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you with us today. Thank you.
It's as always, Carolyn and I are a dynamic duo. We love doing these sessions for everybody, and we love talking about teaching and learning, and sometimes you can't stop us from talking about teaching and learning. So I'm sure it's going to be a fun hour today. We have around 50 minutes of different things. We're going to talk about activities, etc., and work our way through our objectives today around blended learning activities and assessments. But before that, I just want to make sure we start off on the right foot, especially given everything that's happened in the news just recently. This is even more important than it ever was before, of making a land acknowledgement and really connecting back to some of the things that have come out of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And one of them is a land acknowledgement and the importance that a land acknowledgement is for us as Canadians. So I want to say that even though the meeting is in a virtual environment, we'd like to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples of all lands that may be separated, that we may be on separately on today. We want to affirm our commitment and responsibility to improving our relationship among nations and to improve our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples, specifically Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe cultures and others. So those of you that are interested in any land acknowledgements, there's a nice link here that we will provide you to learn more for things that you can do in your classes or in your meetings moving forward. Okay, so with that, we want to set the stage a little bit before we start to talk about the fall 2021, because obviously we have all been through a rather traumatic year of all sorts, teaching and learning and otherwise. But there's been some very interesting things that have happened as a result of that. And I want to point to a study that was done all through last year called Teaching During a Pandemic. And what's interesting is that they did surveys with faculty and all across North America, mostly in the US, but across North America in March of last year in 2020. They did it in August, and then they did it again in December. And so they looked at a lot of questions about how the pandemic was impacting or changing people's thinking about teaching and learning. So I want to give you a couple of highlights that have come out of that particular study that are really interesting. The first is that many instructors have made changes to their teaching and will keep them post-pandemic. So even though everybody was forced to swing remotely last fall or even last March, there is clearly an interest to continue forward with some of those changes that have been made. Secondly, majority of instructors are actually more optimistic about online learning than before the pandemic. And this is another interesting twist as well, is that many people have thought about the remote sort of teaching experience as being a difficult one. It has been. However, many people have had a really good positive experience with online learning, and that there are ideas that we can pull from that for our future teaching. And the last part, which is key, is the idea that flexibility is the key principle moving forward. And we really need to start thinking about, what is good online and what is good in person. And those of us that have been in teaching and learning for, a gazillion years have been waiting for this moment our entire career. We've been talking about forever the idea that, we really should be doing stuff online that's better online, and we should do stuff face-to-face that's better face-to-face. And we need to make those distinctions and discussions before we design and plan our courses. So that really, comes to our fall 2021 context. So what is the context that we have going into the fall term this fall? It's very clear we have three kind of buckets of types of learning or courses that we're going to be teaching this fall. The first is there are courses greater than 150 that are all going to be online. They're staying online this fall. At this point, it looks like that's continued to happen. There will also be some others that will be under 150 that will also be completely online. And those will have both synchronous components, i.e. everybody meeting at the same place at the same time, in Zoom kind of thing, or asynchronous, where students are watching videos and doing activities, etc. And the important thing about this fall that's very different from the fall before is that McGill is requiring everyone to be back on campus, meaning that we don't have to worry about time zones. We don't have to worry about students being caught in other countries where they are unable to return. At least that is what we're expecting. who knows what will happen between now and September, but we're pretty much expecting everybody to be back, which means that if you have an 8:30 class, you could have it online and expect everybody to be able to attend online as you would face-to-face. On the far right extreme, we also have in-person courses where we're kind of going back to the pre-pandemic version of a course that you might have. There are many in-person courses being taught in the fall, and you might sort of decide that you're going to do one activity or another based on the fact you're back into a classroom that you were in before the pandemic happened. But what's going to be interesting is this middle part, and this blended part in the middle there are going to be courses where you're going to pick and choose certain things that are going to be in person and certain things that are going to be online in a synchronous way or online in an asynchronous way. So one of the things that we wanted to touch on is the decision, or sorry, the definition coming from McGill as to what blended activities or blended courses are looking like. And it's really the idea that teaching and learning activities are a combination of online and in-person course components. And the idea is that you use design decisions to maximize the benefits of both. So in other words, you pick what's really good to do in person, and you pick what's really good to do online. Now, what we're not talking about, which is very, very important, is we're not talking about scenarios where students are, let's say, in a classroom and you have students online and in a classroom at the same time. We're not talking about that. That's something called high flex, and generally at McGill, that is not something we're going to support going forward. It is our infrastructure at the university doesn't really handle that well, as well as being a huge cognitive load for an instructor to try and manage students that aren't in the room and students that are in the room. Really, most courses that are moving forward in this fall are going to be online, in person, or a blend where you're choosing, different kind of activities and different kind of environments. So with that, we want to be able to move forward to think about a couple of different examples. And I think, for the fall, as an example, you might have a course that meets once a week for 1.5 hours with no synchronous online sessions. Maybe the remaining contact hours are videos online, assigned to group work or individual work, as an example. Or maybe the course meets once a week for 1.5 hours and then has another 1 hour online synchronous component. But again, you have all of these flexibility, you have all this flexibility at your disposal where you can decide what's best where, in which environment, for what kind of purpose. So with that, we'd like to start with a question, and we're going to use Zoom for this, about how prepared do you feel to teach in the fall of 2021? So I'm going to hand this over to Carolyn to take us through this.
Okay, so Adam, just before I say more about this question, do you want to ensure that the annotations are anonymous, please?
Yes, I will.
Okay, so Adam has given us some really helpful context for this fall, and we would like to know from you how prepared you feel to teach this fall, because it's helpful for us to know who's with us today. So we're going to give you a poll to do in just a minute. As Adam said, a different kind of poll. Yes, we've got a continuum on the screen, and we would like you to annotate on this continuum how you feel about teaching this fall. How prepared you feel. So you can go to the top of your screen. It should be at the top of your screen. Look for annotate. And when you click on annotate, you will have an option to put a stamp. Okay, somebody's already put a check mark there. That's great. So look for stamp. You can choose whichever stamp you like and then put it on that continuum so that it tells us how prepared you feel to teach in fall 2021. Okay, people are using different stamps. That's absolutely fine. This is looking good. We've got some sort of from the middle to the can't wait to start end. We'll just see what else comes up. And you heard me say a minute ago, I asked Adam to disable the names with the annotations. So these are anonymous right now. But we always like to mention that instructors have the option. If you want to have students do any kind of annotation, you can also enable their names to show. But that wasn't relevant for today. Okay, so we've got a lot of responses there. We've got a range of responses. So some people are feeling ready and some people really, really ready. Okay, we've got nobody who can't bear the thought. That's promising. All right, so Adam, let's keep going with this information in mind. I'm going to ask you to clear the screen. Yep, thank you. And let's take a look. Oh yeah, and you can disable the annotations so that we don't get rogue annotations on the slides as we go forward. Thank you. All right, so we've got 2 outcomes for today's session. We hope that by the end, you will be able to determine which components of your course should be in person and which should be online. And then we have a second one, which is we hope that you'll be able to identify the assessment sweet spot in your course. And the term sweet spot might not be familiar to everybody, but what we're talking about when we say sweet spot is that ideal place where a combination of factors come together and they work especially well in that particular place. So Adam is going to say a little bit more about the sweet spot later on. We like to jump in with examples. So we've got the outcomes, we're going to get right to the content, and we've got an example to share with you. So we're talking about what a segment of a blended course might look like. So this is just a snapshot. It's a little piece of a course. In this case, we've got an objective for the course, and you can see that in the first column, the objective. So this is what we hope students will do. Given the Pythagorean theory, learners will design a skateboard ramp for a specific area. So that's the objective. We've got the next column, the activity column, where you will see all kinds of activities that probably look somewhat familiar to you. So you have students read chapters, you have them watch videos, you have them solve problems, share designs, give some peer feedback, and then do some more sharing. So that's probably very familiar to you. The next column is activity setting, and this is where the activity is going to take place. And as Adam mentioned earlier, we have options. It could be online asynchronous, so not in real time. It could be online synchronous, which means it's happening in real time. And it can also be in person, which is what we're thinking about when we talk about on campus or face-to-face. The next column is the tool used. In several cases, we have My Courses, because that's the tool that we're using. That's our learning management software. Of course, we're also using Zoom, and we have a peer assessment tool. And if you're working on campus, you might be using a classroom projector. So you can read across those 3 columns, activity, activity setting, and tools used, to get a sense of what the activity is, where it's going to happen, and how you can make it happen. And I actually just want to add something that I forgot last time and forgot this time, that the different colors in the table are only to help with readability. So they have no significance other than that. To the right of those 3 columns, we have something about assessment. So in order to achieve this particular objective that we see in the first column, there are going to be 2 assessments. First one, develop a proposal, and the second one, complete the design. And if we look at the right, the last column on the right, the setting, where are these going to happen? One's going to be in person, develop the proposal. Students will demonstrate that in person or share it in person, and complete the design. That's something that they will submit via My Courses assignments. So our focus right now is really those 3 columns, the activity, activity setting, and tools used. And actually, Adam, can you just click? Yeah, there we go. The activity setting is what we need to be thinking about. When we're planning for the fall, where are these activities going to happen? We have choices to make. Now, I want you to hold on to that thought, because we're going to ask you a question about that in a minute, but we want to share another example, because examples are really rich, right? This helps us with our thinking. So this example is from a real McGill course, Prehistoric Archaeology. The table is the same, the columns are the same, but the content is slightly different. So in this course, students will critically evaluate sources of archaeological information in popular media. Again, in the activity column, you will see activities that are familiar to you. We have students read articles. We have them watch pre-recorded lectures. We have them attend guest lectures. They might identify examples of something, and then they might do some critiquing in a peer review context. Okay, so none of that should be strange to you. These are just typical activities we have our students do. Activity setting, the next column. Adam, let's put the box there right now. Yeah. This is the one where we have choices to make. We can do all of these things in different environments. So if I look at attend a guest lecture, this example indicates online synchronous, but you could have your students attend a lecture in person. That would be possible too. Identify examples of archaeology in media that captures concepts from the lecture. It says in person, but that could be done online, and it could be done either in an asynchronous environment or a synchronous environment. So again, we have these choices to make. The next column is the tools used, choices we make, and then we've got 2 different kinds of assessment there as well. So I'm anticipating a question. I'm anticipating that you might ask us, on what basis do you make these decisions? That would really be a logical question. So how do you decide? So Adam, let's go to the next slide, please. You have these choices to make: in person, online synchronous, and online asynchronous. And we've got our Blender image there because we're focusing on blended activity for fall 2021. So we're going to put the question to you now. What would be your rationale for the decisions you make about the setting? How do you decide if it's going to be in person, or if it's going to be synchronous, or if it's going to be asynchronous? And we are going to invite you now to put some thoughts into the chat. Yeah, Adam's just put the question there. Thank you very much. What would be your rationale for the setting? How do you decide? So we're going to wait while you think, and hope that you put some ideas in the chat. We've got 1, class size. Absolutely. Need for discussion between people. Based on what worked best last academic year. Yeah, so Adam alluded to that. You know, we think about what we did in the past and what worked. And then maybe we want to do that again in the future and adapt it if necessary to a blended environment. Discussion components, synchronous should be associated to interaction. Thinking about the environment that would best maximize learning for the activity, students' convenience. Let's not forget instructor convenience. Okay, that's a realistic consideration too, and we're going to come back to that. Hands-on skills versus theory, constraints of room availability. So we've got some very practical considerations, and that's reality. Reading versus discussing, guest speaker, asynchronous discussion benefiting from interaction, room infrastructure. Yeah, okay, all of these are great ideas. Let's hang on to those. So these are things that we do want to be considering. And asking questions can help us with our decision making. So Adam, let's go to the next slide. We're going to propose in just a minute some questions to guide decision making. And this is one strategy that we're offering you today to help you with your planning for fall 2021. Now we're going to give you 2 categories of questions to start. So let's put these up. We've got 2 categories. We'll go with the first one. So sound pedagogy. When we're talking about sound pedagogy, we're referring to alignment among learning outcomes and assessments, and of course our teaching strategies, and allowing students varied and multiple opportunities to demonstrate their learning. So this is really key. We've got 2 questions here. What course content is likely to generate a lot of questions and require extensive explanation? So a number of you already were thinking about that when we looked at what you put in the chat, when you talked about interaction, an important consideration. We have another question there: which learning activities benefit from interaction with me, the instructor, with peers? So these are related to sound pedagogy. These are not the only questions possible. We're just giving you 2 as examples. Let's go to another category. So we've got wellness here. So when we're talking about wellness, we're talking about well-being, not only for students, but for instructors. And it's sort of all encompassing with respect to our teaching. And we've got 2 example questions here. How much time do I have available to plan my courses? Again, we have to be realistic about what we can do. And how can I design a course that has a manageable workload for both my students and me? So there was concern last semester that students might have been feeling overwhelmed. Well, maybe instructors were feeling overwhelmed too. So it works both ways. So when we're doing our designs or planning our courses, we want to keep wellness in mind. We have a resource for you, a tool that we've prepared, and I'm just going to put the link in the chat. Yeah, thanks for putting that up, Adam. Or have you already put the link in the chat? No, okay. So I'm putting a link in the chat. There we go. To this document, which is what we've called a blended learning activities and assessments planner. And I'm just going to wait for a thumbs up or a hands up or something to indicate that everybody's able to access the document that I've put the link to in the chat. Okay, I get one thumbs up there, two thumbs, nice. Okay, so people are able to access this. So this is a Word document that you need to download in order to be able to edit it. And what we have here, what we've put on the screen here, is a planner that you can fill in. We've got the example, one of the examples at the top, and then a planner that you can fill in as you prepare your own courses for the fall. And you will also see on that page some guiding questions. And I did say the ones that we showed earlier were only examples. There are several more on the page, and we would encourage you to start filling in some of your own questions. And we know you have the ideas because you already put them in the chat. So that's something that you can work on afterwards. So actually, I think now I'm going to turn it over to Adam, and he's going to continue, and we're going to move into a little bit of the assessment portion because we've been focusing on really the learning activities. And now let's see what we do with the assessment piece.
Great. Thanks so much, Carolyn. I think already we've got some comments about great tool. I think that's one of our primary intents of these kind of sessions is we want to, give you and equip you with as many tools for decision making as possible so that as you go through your, June planning for September, you can make those decisions early on and know what the next steps would be. So for example, if you're looking for online synchronous settings, well, if you're going to use Zoom and breakouts, maybe you need to practice some things with breakouts. Maybe you need to learn some more things around that. And I think that's kind of the idea around the process here, which is fantastic. So I want to sort of guide ourselves a little bit towards the last two parts of this column, which are assessment and assessment setting, by talking a little bit about what Carolyn alluded to earlier is about demonstrating learning in a variety of ways. So we talked about all these different ways that you can have students demonstrate learning, and we know that this is significant, not only benefit for students for learning, but also benefits for you because you get an idea of how well students may have learned particular topics by letting them demonstrate it in different ways. So these are sort of three categories I wanted to talk through. The first one is artifact, and these are student-produced artifacts. So there's many different types of artifacts that you can have students create that can demonstrate their learning. It could be taking a test, it could be writing an essay, it could be designing a survey, it could be implementing a study, it could be having a discussion, it could be doing a presentation, or it could be doing building a video or anything along those lines. So having students demonstrate their learning in different artifacts gives you lots of different diversity and options for being able to look at and assess their learning. The second is, of course, the different types of interactions. So you could have learning being demonstrated individually, like students present, let's say, on their own, or as a group, where it's a group work that's working on a project or working on a presentation. And lastly, in terms of feedback, there's a number of different types of feedback that you can actually elicit in order to have students demonstrate learning. And those would be things like self-assessment, where, how are you doing? Reflect on your own ideas, both online and in person, as well as peer assessment, having students evaluate each other's ideas. And lastly, of course, you could actually assess them directly yourself or TAs, etc. And the reason why we want to bring these three up is because, again, the idea is that you can blend your assessments in the same way that you can blend activities. So you can have your assessments have in-person components, online synchronous components, and online asynchronous components. And we're going to talk about all of these moving forward, because I think there are a lot of things to think about when you're blending assessments in these different categories that Carolyn has already talked about. So what we want to talk about in terms of blending the assessment is finding the sweet spot. So the sweet spot is a strange colloquialism in English that talks about sort of that optimal location, like where everything is optimized. And that's what they mean by, that's what the word means of the sweet spot. So the sweet spot, we're going to suggest that the sweet spot is a balance between a number of different categories. Now, Carolyn has already talked about sound pedagogy and the importance of sound pedagogy in aligning with our objectives and ensuring that we're have varied and multiple opportunities for students to demonstrate their learning, as well as wellness. And that's often a balance where some things might be really sound pedagogically, but just not possible to do. Either that you don't have the time, the bandwidth, the mental space to be able to develop it, or students as well. And again, Carolyn mentioned that we ran into some of that last fall where, a lot of people decided all at once to do a lot of individual small assessments, which is sound pedagogy. But unfortunately, you compound all of it together, and now students have things due every single day, every hour of the day, and that sort of compounds the problem around the wellness and balance. So we have to look at these as in balance with each other. And what we'd like to suggest is that there are two other variables here to take into account in terms of balance. And that's one is with academic integrity and assessment security. And these are often a balance that we have to weigh as well. Academic integrity is really the idea of a moral engagement. So the concept that there are fundamental values about honesty and trust and fairness, and that there are things that you're supposed to do in your discipline about approaching particular assessments, about how you may want to design them, how you may want to take them, as well as the other side of that, which is assessment security, which is really dealing with things like enforcement and locking things down and ensuring that we know that students, if you want them to demonstrate their own work, that they're actually doing their own work, as an example. So why are these kind of four areas important? And I think we can sort of go to the literature a little bit to talk about finding that sweet spot here, and look at some considerations around academic integrity, because we talked a little bit about sound pedagogy and wellness and balancing that off, but academic integrity and security, we also have to talk about this balance. So this is a very interesting study that came out of a really wonderful online seminar by a fellow called Dawson in Australia that's done an amazing amount of research on academic integrity and things like contract cheating. And what they mean by contract cheating in this particular study is that students are getting somebody else to do their work. It could be copying it off the internet, paying somebody to do it, having them write an assessment or an exam for them, etc. And what's really interesting is when you start looking at what are the student perceptions of the likelihood of engaging in that kind of activity. If you look at the top two, they are heavily weighted tasks with short turnaround times. So why is this important? Because this can inform us as instructors designing our courses, saying that, you know what, if we reduce the heavily weighted tasks and we sort of extend the turnaround times, we're going to actually put students in positions where they are less likely to engage in behaviors that we don't want them to engage in. So for example, if we have a 75% online multiple choice final exam where you have 2 hours to do it, starts at 9, ends at 11, and that's it, the likelihood of something going wrong in terms of having students focus on the wrong thing, i.e., how can I, get through this exam, are significantly higher. So we have to think about ways to be able to combat that and ways to be able to get around that to ensure that we're supporting both academic integrity as well as assessment security. So what are some practical examples of this, and what can we do with, as Carolyn mentioned, we love examples. That's our favorite thing to do, is talk about real examples that you can take away and go, okay, I want to do an online exam or online quiz. Many of you on the call today probably have done this. So let's think about the different areas and what they could mean for you in terms of things to think about when it comes to designing an online exam. So in terms of sound pedagogy, we can use different question types. So instead of just all multiple choice, all matching, we can mix it up. We can have open response, we can have matching, we can have multiple choice, we can change the types of questions that we're doing. We can use multiple tries. We can have an exam that actually has multiple stages, that have stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, things like that, and multiple opportunities even for submission. And we can also focus on real world authentic problems or issues when we're designing our assessments. In terms of wellness, we can change the time allotment or constraints. One of the things that we saw with students is that, if we gave a 2-hour exam, we give them 72 hours to do a 2-hour exam, they basically spent 72 hours on it. So maybe it's a better idea to constrain the time. And if we give them a 2-hour exam, give them 2 hours to do it. So that we don't, get in a situation where they feel like they have to put in more effort and more time than they necessarily need to. Maybe we should also have multiple tries submissions and ultimately non-predetermined results. There's nothing worse for wellness than going into an exam where you actually got, 8 out of 10 questions correct and you end up failing it because everything has been curved in advance. So these are things that I think are really, really critical to think about in terms of wellness. And sound pedagogy.
Sorry, Adam, I'm just going to interrupt for a minute.
Absolutely.
That's actually well documented in the literature too,
Absolutely.
that students will experience anxiety, they will experience stress if they're expecting if their performance really reflects a certain grade, but they're not assigned that grade because of predetermined grades.
Exactly. And what's the point if I get 9 out of 10 things correct, but I end up getting a B, what's the point of continuing? And it really leads to drastic changes in students' behavior in courses. So in terms of academic integrity, honor code acknowledgement, this is actually done in the research or demonstrating the research to have a significant impact on student behavior. Connecting to personal experience. So if the quiz actually has questions where they have to write from their own experience, it's something that that they have to generate themselves. Same with authentic assessment. In addition, assessment security, we can do question and answer randomization. So we can essentially create unique exams for every single student that is taking a particular online quiz. We can change the time allotment and constraint, only give an X number of hours available to the exam. And lastly, of course, we have something like a question bank. So we can take 100 questions and only draw 20. As an example, a randomized 20 of that 100, assuming that the 100 are all, that the exams end up being equal. But you can create versions very, very easily and even have situations where you're changing variables within exact questions that students are doing online. Okay, so again, we want to find that sweet spot, that nice little spot in the middle that we're looking for. The second example I want to talk through briefly is a very common one that many of you are using or would like to do, is an essay. So having students generate some kind of coherent work where they're writing or creating it on their own. So in terms of things like sound pedagogy, multiple drafts, multiple submissions, one idea we can do is, they submit their thesis statement, they submit an outline, they submit a first draft, they submit a second draft, they submit a final version, etc. You can see the progression of their knowledge from the start to the end, as opposed to just the final version, which is not ideal in terms of the best pedagogical approach. Again, real world problems and appropriate content for the tasks. So for example, looking for, are you really going to ask first year students to write an article that is worthy of submission in a scientific journal? Like, is that realistic in terms of the appropriate content and task and understanding? Maybe they could generate an abstract, maybe they could generate something else, but maybe they're not able to at that point in their first year of their discipline to be able to generate something that could be published. Or real world problems, bringing in an essay or a topic that they have to draw on their own experience. In terms of wellness, time allotment, multiple drafts or submissions, and non-predetermined results. Same idea as we've got for online quizzes. In terms of honor code acknowledgement, personal experience, and multiple stages, same idea with integrity that we've got for quizzes applies to using essays as well. You can have different stages, multiple stages, and you can get to know a student's writing on the way from the very beginning to the very end. And one of the interesting things that they've looked at when it comes to academic integrity is that you can train TAs and train yourself to spot work that isn't the student's own. There are a number of clear things in the literature of things that training that you can even do yourself, but it's looking for key things in their own writing. And oftentimes you might have a pretty good hunch one way or the other that, wait a minute, what they did in the first draft and the final draft is clearly not the same person writing. Those are things that you can work forward with as well. And lastly, in terms of assessment security, varying topics or questions, having those rotate so that you're not doing the exact same questions you did last year. Multiple stages, again, we said that before, as well as using text matching tools. We have a a really useful tool called Urkind that's built, or original, that's built into the My Courses assessment tool that allows you to actually have students scan their assignments to look for matching text all across the internet, the literature, et cetera, with others. And what's nice about that is if you do this in a draft mode as well, students can actually submit using text matching and get feedback themselves. So they can see what things need to be corrected or what things might be identified as problematic even before it's submitted as well. So those are two examples that we wanted to provide in terms of assessment and really thinking about the different areas, balancing pedagogy and wellness and balancing academic integrity and security. And so from here, the real question is, well, okay, well then what questions do we need to address? Like, how are we going to know what to do in all these different areas? And I think that's where Carolyn's going to pull it together with some of our questions about our decision-making. Carolyn?
Yeah, well, as you said, what we want to do now is bring those 4 different areas together. And we had provided, you can put the slide up because this is already on the document. It's in the handout that we've already shared with you. We put the link in the chat earlier. So we've added the 2 categories that Adam has mentioned. And so when we're talking about academic integrity here as a category of questions, we're thinking about really a commitment to we're going to call them 6 fundamental values. So we want to be thinking about honesty, about trust, about fairness, about respect, about responsibility, and even courage. And maybe, Adam, do you want to just put a link in the chat to the ICAI, if you can find it, the 2021. So we want to be thinking about a moral engagement. So we're going to do things that are going to foster academic integrity, but it's about a mindset, it's about a belief system, and we have to encourage that in our students. So to that end, we have questions here. Well, like the first one, how well do students understand what academic integrity is in my discipline, so in the instructor's discipline, and why it matters? So often students don't recognize or they don't appreciate what it means to adopt that value in a discipline. And it's not the same across disciplines. And I think that's a key piece to keep in mind. And then another question we have is, how able are students at implementing appropriate citation practices in my discipline? Again, these are not the same across disciplines, and students don't come to our classes with with expectations that are necessarily appropriate in each discipline. So we need to be explicit with our students about what our expectations are for academic integrity and not make assumptions about what they know or don't know. So 2 questions as examples to keep in mind. Then we have assessment security. That's our 4th category. And of course, Adam did talk through several examples. And this really is about enforcement. So we've got 2 questions here. Which technology strategies should I consider implementing for securing assessments? And I did put a link in the chat to the randomizing quiz and assessment questions. And we've got a link in the chat as well to something about text matching. I put the link in for documentation to text matching. So those are ways to enforce. And then we have, how can I implement a multi-stage assessment where students demonstrate knowledge or skills and development over time? So that's another link I already put in the chat, and Adam expressed that very well. Don't wait until the end. Like if you say to students, okay, produce your final paper and I'll give you a grade, like just 1 grade on your final paper, they don't know if they're doing the right thing all the way to get there. So if you break it down and give students multiple opportunities to demonstrate their learning, they get feedback, and it's a way for you and for them to know that they're developing their knowledge over time, and they're going to be less in need of going to a source to copy from if they're building their knowledge and skills over time.
So Carolyn, there's a good question that came out of the chat of that. But multi-stages and doing all these submissions and areas actually increases student workload. So I thought it'd be a good point to talk to that for a minute as well, is that when students are writing essays, they're often going through the stages. They're just going through them quickly and perhaps not as effectively. So I wonder as well that if Carolyn, you have any thoughts on that too, is that, stretching these stages out, it might seem like more work, but in reality, it might actually be less work throughout the term. And then at the end of the day, you're going to get a much better result.
So I love that question because, yeah, it reminds me of my teaching days. So I taught academic writing for many years, and I did have students do multi-stage assessments. The work comes in the planning stages, but it does not necessarily have to be more work throughout the term. It depends how you set up the assignment. So I would encourage everybody to take a look at the example. I put the link in the chat earlier to the where it says pages 17 to 20. That's there's a concrete example there. You can have students, for example, submit a working thesis statement that is it's done for completion. So you don't want students to wait till the night before they write to start thinking about their writing. So they can write a working thesis statement, submit it to my courses, check, it's done. You don't necessarily have to provide feedback on it, but it's an example of getting students to think in advance. You could have students do an annotated bibliography. And again, it can be submitted for completion without detailed feedback on all of it. You can have students submit one body paragraph for peer feedback. So again, you don't necessarily have to be the one providing that feedback. You can have them engage in peer feedback, but again, students are doing work before the night before. And each time this advances their thinking. So there are myriad ways to set up multi-stage assessments. Not all of them require more instructor work during the semester. They do take work in terms of planning before the semester gets underway.
And I just wanted to add as well that there's another concern, I think, about the students expressing comments about too many small assessments or too many series lower stakes assessments throughout the term and being overwhelmed. You're absolutely right. I think this again goes to that idea of pedagogy and wellness in a balance. But there's a lot of X factors in this comment that we have to be aware of. Many students had never really experienced online learning at all and were not prepared for organizing themselves, week by week or day by day. They're used to doing nothing until a week before the midterm and a week before the final. So there's adjustment for students, there's adjustment for instructors. And if you look at most online programs, they don't do 5 courses at once. They do them much smaller, 1 course at a time in shorter periods. So there's a lot of things working against the 5 courses all online, all at the same time, multiple assessments, etc. I do think, however, that this fall, we're going to be a much better place where not all courses will be online for the entire term. And of that, there'll be a much bigger mixture of the sort of the lower stakes in class versus online, et cetera. So it's a really good point. And again, we come back to that scale, the balancing the pedagogy and wellness and balancing academic integrity and security and trying to find that sweet spot in the middle that works for you.
Yeah, and that's really an important consideration, the workload for students and for instructors. And maybe it was excessive, as we moved to that very quickly and it was new for everybody, students felt overwhelmed, if every class had an assessment due in a week, that seems like a lot. But even if you're thinking in terms of moving from, let's say you had a midterm and you had a final. Well, even if you go from 2 assessments to 4 assessments in a term, that's a better way to support student learning and to promote academic integrity, because students can do things incrementally. So it doesn't have to be a low grade assignment that students submit every week, because we appreciate that can be excessive, especially when there isn't coordination among courses. And that can be challenging because students come from different programs, they're doing different things. So there's a real challenge there, there's no question. But even if you go from 2 assessments a semester to, let's say, 4 assessments, that's going to better support student learning. Okay, so we have a question for you. We gave you the worksheet that has our 4 categories on there. And we do say in the first column, add some of your own questions. So we'd like to hear from you. What other questions might you consider when designing your blended course. Not everybody will want to work with the same questions. That's okay. But if we can generate some ideas and share them here, we can start building those lists of what might be important to consider. So we'll give you a minute and hope you can type something in the chat and let us know and let others know what other questions would be important to consider.
This is where we need the Jeopardy music, Carolyn. I keep forgetting we have to add that in.
Yeah, well, we've got some coming in. Okay, question about attendance. Will we be able to return to this category? I'm not sure.
I'm not quite sure what you mean by attendance or about the category.
I think we might need some clarification there. Will there be invited speakers in the course? Yeah, good one. That could go and definitely would be worthwhile if you're thinking of having guest speakers.
And sometimes it's a lot easier to coordinate that online synchronously with Zoom than any other way.
Student access to subsequent classes 10 minutes later is in person. Yeah, the university is working on looking into what spaces will be available for students between classes.
It's
and
a real challenge.
From one class to the next, absolutely.
That's going to be a real challenge because a student that finishes their class in person then has to go into an online class. Where are they going to go? We don't have enough places at the library to suit 25,000 students. So it's going to be challenging. I think that's something that university is going to really be watching in the fall to see what those needs are. But that's a really great comment, great point.
Okay, we've got another one. Is the material more interesting when presented in another format?
I like that.
So there's some options versus instructor teaching it. Yep, definitely something to consider. And I think some instructors are wondering about that after this past year teaching remotely.
I know sometimes a video of us is better than us. Isn't that a little scary thought? At least in my case, you could be slowed down, and maybe others you could be sped up or paused. So sometimes that can be really beneficial for sure.
Or maybe some other people explain things better than we do.
That's true. Absolutely.
And then we've got accreditation. So absolutely, there are some programs that have to pay careful attention to accreditation requirements. What's the best way to distribute the marks for assessment over the term? Important consideration. And of course, best is contextual. So what's best in one course might not be best in another course. So that's why it's really important to have your course context in mind.
And it's funny that this next question about teaching problem solving can be a challenge to do math problems on the screen. You know, it's one of those, like, it seems to be polarized. Some people would say, we can't do them on the screen, we need to do them in the room. And others like, it's so much better on a screen than in a room. It's very interesting to see things come out on both ends where it's, you know, people are both happy and unhappy at the same exact thing. But that's a really good point. It's a really good question. And in a particular case, doing a particular math problem live might be better than recording it and doing it as a video online.
Okay, so we have some really good ideas here, and we would encourage you to keep thinking, use the planner, add your questions to the planner. Oh, we've just got another one that's come in. Attendance used to be required in language courses. We didn't include attendance last academic year. Will we be able to take attendance in the fall? So that would be a question that could go on the planner for sure. And you would have to find out within your unit what the practice is going to be. Certainly an important consideration. Okay, before we move on to our next item, I do want to mention that one of my colleagues has indicated to me that we have an incorrect link or a dead link somewhere. So I'm just putting into the chat the ICAI link that apparently is the correct one. So we're sorry about that. We'll look into it after. Okay, and Adam just posted there, speaking to your academic head would be important for this. Yeah, for the attendance one, to know what the practice is going to be in your unit for sure. Okay, Adam, shall we go on to our next slide? So we would like to encourage you to think about some next steps And we've got a few things here on the slide. So we have some more webinars coming up this month, June, and we would encourage you to take a look at the list that's online in the events section of the TLS website. And most of these deal with implementation and how to do the things that we've been talking about today in very concrete terms using my courses and other tools. We also have a series going on this summer on large classes. So if you take a look at the events page, you'll see that we have some interesting sessions coming up on teaching large classes. And we have access resources on this slide as well. So all of this will be available to you, or Adam, I don't know if you want to put the links in the chat right now to the different things. Certainly on the TLS website, we have lots of resources for you on our disruption pages. And on the disruption page, you will find a link to today's webinar, to a recording, to the slides, to the planner. In case you lose the link, you'll be able to download it again. The references are there and links to other resources related to today's webinar. And then of course we have the Teaching for Learning blog, Teaching for Learning at McGill. So we've got a blog with all kinds of ideas, instructor experiences, student experiences, and more. We also like to encourage you to connect with a colleague. Often teaching happens in isolation. You're alone in your classroom or alone in your Zoom room. Just you and your students, but it can be very helpful to connect with a colleague. And we know that instructors have learned so much this past year. Please talk to each other, share the knowledge because you have it. And, you know, you're welcome to come to TLS and talk with us, but we're not necessarily the ones in the classroom with the students. So please make an effort, talk with your colleagues and see what they've done that might be useful for your teaching this coming year. And then finally, we've got book a consultation. And that's with TLS. So if you're interested in having a conversation with a consultant at TLS, we'd love to talk with you. You can bring an idea, get feedback on it, or if you need an idea, we'll brainstorm ideas with you. We're happy to do all of that. So those are the next steps. And then we'll come to our last slide, where we're interested in knowing from you what your most important takeaway is from today's session. And we always say this is important for two reasons. Of course, it provides us with feedback about what you perceived to be of interest today, what you perceived to be noteworthy today. And that's useful for us for planning subsequent offerings, of course. But it's also a way for you to highlight in your own mind what you want to retain. So if you articulate it, even if it's in writing, there's a better chance that it's going to stick with you and that you'll do something with it afterward. So please take a minute, let us know what is your most important takeaway from today's session. And if you would like to ask us any questions in the time that we have left, you're welcome to put up your hand. We'd be happy to call on you. And
I just want to mention too that I put a link in the chat to a really fantastic page we have on our website on different strategies like this one. I would urge you to take a look there. We have amazing sort of short little video clips about different strategies that you can do. One, 10-2 strategies, muddiest point, all these sort of wonderful things that can be done. Definitely try it out. And that link will bring you to the list of ideas there. It looks like we have multiple questions already springing up.
And we have one important one in the chat too.
Yeah, too. So maybe let's address the one in the chat first. Carolyn, you want to take that one?
Okay, so the question in the chat, I'm just scrolling to it. Hold on one second. It went by very quickly. Will blended learning be supported officially after fall 2021? So we can't predict the future, and who knows what will happen with vaccinations, with viruses. We don't know, but what we do know is that we're not letting go of all that we've learned in the past year. And this notion of being flexible is going to stay. And I'd like to come back to something Adam said earlier, which had to do with the best of both worlds. So this is a really good opportunity for us to draw on the best experiences, the richest teaching and learning experiences that we've had in the online environment and in the classroom, put them together and then we can work with that going forward. So blended can be in many shapes and formats, and that's something we're going to want to hang on to going forward.
Absolutely. So, okay, so our next question, Lawrence, you have your hand up. Why don't you unmute and go ahead?
Okay, thanks. Thanks for the presentation. I really like that planner that you've posted up. I think it's really going to be very useful. I guess the question is on perhaps a practical question on using that planner. So you show sort of these columns of objective, activity setting tools used. At what level of granularity should you be thinking about the objective when you complete this planner? Like, should we be looking at our course as having 4 broad objectives and then breaking it down on that level? Would you be looking at, let's say, 6 associated learning outcomes that you might tie to a particular module of a course? Part of this is because if we start thinking about combining online, like synchronous, and then in person, depending on how the arrangement is at the university level, are we thinking that we should always be keeping to the same, every week we're going to meet, on Tuesdays it's going to be in person, then on Thursday it's online, and then it's the same the next week? Or would we even have the opportunity of bringing in, well, this particular week we're going to do Tuesday and Thursday online, right, on Zoom, and then we're going to do the following week in person? So if we're trying to think about planning from that perspective, what's the best way of trying to use this tool to help us?
That's a great question, Lawrence. I think your second question addressed first. Most of you have already chosen your format. So in terms of what's scheduled currently online with enrollment services, it'll provide, you either have a room or you don't either week, and you've either just chosen to a certain extent what that might be. Now, maybe you have 3 hours per week in a room. You can always decide, I'm not going to use the room this week. I'm going to do this online or do this face-to-face. So I think you have that decision and you are under control as to how you're going to do that. I think the only thing that is part of the university's guidance is that whatever you plan to do synchronously, you have to do in the time slots provided. So if you're given a 10:30, 11:30 course Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're either in person or online synchronous on those times, and then everything else you can do asynchronously. But I think your first question is a really good one as well, is that I think we meant it to be a little ambiguous because you can use it at different levels. My preference or my idea is really that this is best at kind of a week by week kind of series of objectives. That's my thinking. I think that's probably helpful because it does get pretty specific pretty quickly. So I think that's something that's going to be important. Carolyn, do you want to add to that?
No, I think it's a great answer. I do want to make sure we have time for a couple of other questions, but the hands just went away, and it could be because I accidentally clicked on something. So there were 2 people who had their hands up. So maybe we can just go to Michael Whitman if you want to unmute yourself, please. And I'm sorry about that with the hands.
Thank you very much. This has been fantastic. My question is, you mentioned near the beginning you were not going to discuss, I think you used the term high flex, with some people in person, some people on Zoom at the same time. So that's something that I'm really interested in. I'm wondering if you're not going to cover it, if you could at least perhaps send some resources that would help with that.
So this is a really good question. The reason why we're not covering it is basically because McGill's not supporting it. There is no support going forward for that kind of broad course attendance where students can decide if they want to attend in person or online. However, and this is the big however, there are pockets at the university where this is being explored. For example, defense dissertations. This is a very common thing that's going to end up happening, as well as other areas. So the reason we express that is because, one, it's come out from the associate provost that it's a one or the other, and that's the idea. The reason for this is because our rooms don't support this. We do not have the infrastructure on campus to do this well. We can do it badly. But I think that nobody wants to do it badly. And I think that's one of the really big concerns, is that we don't want a scenario where the students that are not there are basically second tier students that are, that can't interact, that can't talk very easily, that can't get a hold of the instructor. In addition, as an instructor, the cognitive load of managing both is extremely challenging. And those universities in the last year during the pandemic that have tried that have basically all gone back to saying in person or online for September. When you look at a lot of the universities that have done this is not to say that area, that high flex concept, is not going to be explored. It does need to be explored because there are certain situations where it is going to be necessary and useful and helpful. But I think across the board at the university is requiring in person. You have to come to McGill. You can't attend McGill from somewhere else. You have to be here. That's the #1 requirement. And if that's a requirement, that means everybody can either be in person, online synchronous, or online asynchronous, but not a combination where everything is both at the same time.
I just want to acknowledge it is 1 o'clock. We still have one question. So Isabelle, please hang on. We'll get to you. But I think we'll just say thank you to everybody for joining us today. And it was great to see your comments in the chat. We hope that the resources will be helpful for you. We're going to stay on for a few more minutes and hear the last question. Because there's still a hand up. But if anybody else wants to hang around for that, please do. So thanks for joining us. And Isabelle, now we'll invite you to unmute yourself, please.
Okay, thank you very much for the very useful presentation. It relates also to the HyFlex, setting. I have been told, in fact, that I was going to teach 1 every 2 weeks, and the classroom is too small for the entire, in person, and the classroom is too small for the entire class. So I don't see any other solution than having the HyFlex thing. Or I can go back to the department and say, well, officially, you're not allowed to ask me that, or what?
I think you need to go back to and speak to your academic head. The room should be able to hold the students that are attending. They do tend to overbook slightly, but it's something I would go speak with your academic head for sure. Okay. Otherwise, you will share. Is there any resources, as Michael was asking? No, the reality really is that it's not a supported route for McGill, and no one is willing to really take on that as a method for supporting the class. IT can't handle that. We don't have the infrastructure or rooms to do it either. So there really isn't a good way forward to support that across the board.
Let's say if they would insist on keeping the capacity of the class, I guess I could have a rotation of students attending.
You could. I think that's a good conversation. I think that's a good conversation to have with your academic head and ask them what they meant by doing this. Maybe there's some other idea, but I think it would be important to go back and mention that as well. Okay, thank you very much. Was nice seeing you.
Absolutely. Lovely to see you too. It's always great to see familiar faces here.
Absolutely. Great. It was a great discussion. I really thank everybody for engaging. It's super helpful for us, and I'm and it looks like everybody had a great time. So again, I think we're at our end. So I think we will sign off. Again, we will make this available on the webinars page with the recording as soon as it's available with the transcripts. And we will hopefully see you at the next sessions. Do engage and look at those and see if you can register. There's going to be lots of interesting things happening over the next 2 weeks.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.